back to my channel. My name is Delilah if you're new here, and today we are gonna do a little question and answer. I went ahead and went on Facebook and some groups and I asked my social media, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, whether or not you guys wanted me to answer some questions about being in foster care, and I just kind of put a little background information about me, and I went ahead and asked you guys if you ever wondered about any stereotypes or anything like that, and I got some really good questions and I wanted to share with you and answer some of them. If you didn't know, I am currently 21. I am already out of foster care. I already aged out. You age out when you're 21. I've been in foster care since I was 14 years old, around 14, right? I got into foster care like right before high school, like August. September was high school, August was when I got into foster care. So that's basically it. That's a little background about that part of my life. We're gonna go into some questions. Most of these are YouTubers, so just letting you know. By the way, if you hear any noises, my kitten, my new kitten, is actually playing around everywhere. Hey, what was it like living in a foster home? Okay, so me personally, I lived in 3 foster homes. Right before I got into my first foster home, I actually lived with my best friend at the time. I lived with her for like about a couple months, like 3, right before they put me back into my mom's care, and then I got back into foster care. Basically, never really got out of it, kind of like trial error kind of thing, and then they put me back in there. What was it like? They're all different. Some were worse than others, honestly, and I almost positively know that the people that are either know my previous foster parents or are my foster parents watch my videos, so I don't necessarily want to talk real bad about them, but I'm gonna be really honest with you guys. It wasn't the best time. It really wasn't. The hardest part about being in foster care, if you still keep in contact with your biological parents, is that you kind of have to cater to both of them, even if they kind of raise you differently. You still have to cater to your foster parents, you know, mindset and their rules and stuff, and sometimes it's hard, especially if you're at an older age, to get used to something like that, you know. And that was usually my problem. I was never used to all the kind of tightness in the house, rather than, you know, I was free to do whatever I ever wanted with my mom. You know, that was kind of hard. Everything you hear and read, honestly, I've never really heard or read anything about foster care, so I can't really say whether or not it's a good perception of them. Come here, let me show you. And since you sat this much through the video, this is Kai. This is my new baby. Hi, Kai. Hi, baby. He's very playful but very timid at the same time. I actually have a video on this, kind of. My first video I ever made about foster care was how I lived on $215 for rent in my foster home in an apartment that I got from being in foster care. I will link it down below if you guys haven't watched it. I was blessed not to be homeless. I'm actually in my second apartment right now, way across the country from where I was in foster care. If you guys know me, you'd know that. Honestly, on a personal or societal level, I don't really think that there is a way to help them. I don't know. I feel like, personally, don't attack me for my opinion, I personally believe, and I'm gonna kind of bring abortion and like having kids into this, if you know you can't take care of your kid, if you know your kid is going to be miserable, probably starving on the street, probably, you know, like it's going to die on the street from either, I don't freaking know, the weather or the danger or whatever, starvation, don't have your kid. Because a lot of those kids are going to be caught by ACS, by child services, and going to be, you know, hooligans, basically. Well, that's why we have such negative stereotypes on us, is because we are known as hooligans. And personally, I don't know about you, but I don't believe that I'm a hooligan. So in my mindset is, if you know you can't have the kid, if you know you can't support them, don't have the kid. That's in my opinion. If you have family members, put them with the family members. The last thing you want is the kid calling the cops on you or ACS on you or anything like that. It's really, it sucks. It really sucks being in the system like that. So you guys, if you can avoid having kids, or if you know somebody who you can take in and foster them rather than some stranger in somewhere else that they decide to put them in, do that. I feel like that's really, I honestly don't have any more ideas than that, but personally, that's what I believe. There are caseworkers, which is actually, I want to be a social worker. I want to give back the way that my social workers, they've always been really amazing. They kind of taught me some things, you know, just like they should. There's much care in the foster system. From the law's point of view, picking foster parents, not so much. There's really no care for it. I looked up some qualifications. There really aren't much. You don't really have to qualify for too much. I'll list some qualifications like on the side right here. There's care in certain ways, but I mean, I personally did not have a terrible foster care experience. I had a lot of people that were there to help, and I still do. They still offer their resources, and I personally think that I was really blessed with that. Not everybody experienced it that way. I've met a few people that actually didn't have the best resources available to them. Just depends really where. I was in Brooklyn, maybe in Queens it would have been different, or maybe in like Arizona it would have been different. You know, everywhere it's different, and I personally did not have the best experiences in the houses, but I did have pretty good experiences when it comes to resources provided by ACS and foster care. Although I started this video talking about stereotypes, I never really had people kind of pinpoint me like that. I have had times where, okay, like this one time, just like I said, I lived with my best friend at the time. Her mom didn't really like me because of the things that my mom would tell her when she would sit down, drink all day, and then call her up and talk to her on the phone and tell her really bad things about me. And honestly, I never personally believed that I did anything in their house to ever harm either their daughter, which was my best friend, or anyone else in the family. I've never really disrespected anybody like that. I'm not that type of person. I hate confrontation. I hate confronting adults 100%. Like, I know it's bad, I know I should learn otherwise, definitely should before I become a mother, but I absolutely hate confrontation, you guys. I hate it. I can't stand it. So the fact that my mom would go ahead and tell her these horrible things and she would believe her, or just have some kind of, you know, negative mindset on me just because I am a foster child. And, you know, mind you, I was only a foster child for a few months at that point, and I was only in there not because of me but because of my parent. So kind of things like that. Usually when I meet people, I don't really hide that I'm a foster child. Right now, I don't really tell anybody because I'm no longer one. So a lot of people usually don't know. I kind of slip it in sometimes. It shaped me of who I am. But when I would tell people that I'm in foster care, they would usually not really, you know, respond. They would be too shy to ask questions or kind of ignore it. Like, I didn't even really say it. Like, oh, okay. Or, you know, being very polite. I've never had a negative thing like, whoa, you were in foster care? Like, never really ever has that ever happened to me. Nobody ever really is surprised knowing I'm in foster care. So I don't know, but if any of you guys were in foster care or know somebody in foster care and have had stereotypes, please comment down below. I want people to know of these negative things. Yes, I do notice that. I feel like because of what I had to go through dealing with my alcoholic mother, and then dealing with all the foster families that came my way, and dealing with all the people I met, it definitely matured me a lot. I never really was not mature, but I definitely matured my way into it. From 14, honestly, I should have never been through what I've been through at 14. Just like a lot of people shouldn't be. Most of us shouldn't have experienced the things we experienced. And that's not even talking about foster care kids, you guys. Like, I've heard some horror stories of kids that never even heard of foster care, but their parents just put them through it. But yeah, definitely, yeah, I've noticed that I'm a little bit more mature than other people. Not really on my age right now. I'm definitely not doing as well as some people I know, but like when I was younger, yeah. Okay, what were my pet peeves? Like I said earlier, nothing really. Nobody ever approached me in the wrong way. My pet peeves weren't with what I heard. My pet peeves were with the way I was treated in the houses that I lived in. How sometimes ACS, foster care itself, wouldn't really approach the situations in a right way that they should. And I had to make some really difficult, long life decisions at a very young age just to see like where I would be from a few years. I've always prayed and hoped and just couldn't wait until I turned 18 so I could at least have the right to sign myself out if anything ever became that bad. But I survived till 21. Obviously it wasn't that freaking horrible, but you know, it was pretty bad. Like growing up as a child that was fostered, so that kind of ties into that. Like I said, I was in 3 foster houses, so I'll kind of brief you guys into all of them. The first one wasn't a bad home. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful house. It was a pretty nice family. It was pretty strict. Okay, I will get, it was kind of strict in it. It was. And I wasn't used to it. Like I said, it was my first home and it was just crazy. But they meant well, and that's all I could really say about them. And I was really always accepted by the family members, and we did some fun things. I was in that house for, I believe, like 3 years, so it was a while. I was in that house for most of my time of being in foster care. And the second home, I would say, was the worst. And I feel like they watch my videos, so I'm not gonna say too much. I definitely have no disrespect towards them, but I had the worst experiences in that house. It was just, the absolute worst. I haven't mentioned yet, but I did kind of acquire a foster sister in my first house. I knew her from middle school. She was a year younger than me, and she still is, obviously. She is a year younger than me, and we're still close. We're still like sisters. If anyone asks if I have siblings, really, that's my only sister that I really acknowledge, because I grew up with her. I was there for her. I was always kind of like a big sister. So she was my blessing. Honestly, I met her in the first house. We moved to the second house together. We moved in the third house, and then I kind of left her there, you know. But she's doing well. Everything's great. She's happy, I'm happy. And in the third house, it was the best house. It was the most easygoing house. The second house, I was there for about 2 years, I would say, a year and a half, 2.5, somewhere around there, a few years, not more than like 2.5 years. And in the last home, I was only there a few months before I was offered the opportunity to move into an apartment that I could pay $215 a month for. Like I said, videos down below. That was great. It wasn't the most pleasant environment, because we lived on the first floor, and it was in the basement. There was a lot of like water bugs, so that was probably my least favorite part about the household. But honestly, that has nothing to do with anything. It has nothing to do with the home or the parents or anything like that. And honestly, the lady was mad cool, and she's down to earth. And if I had to recommend any foster homes out of the 3 I've been, I'd recommend her, because honestly, she was the freaking bomb. I don't know, she was mad easygoing, didn't really care about much. Laws of fostering: have a stable income. At least one of the people in the household should have a stable income. You should be able to take classes for parenting. There's definitely a lot of classes and meetings that you have to do, a lot of paperwork that you have to do, especially the first, if you've never been a foster parent before and you're actually applying yourself for it. What I've experienced from a foster child's point of view, you need to have monthly allowance. The foster parents get paid for food and like clothes and stuff like that, and they're also given an allowance to give to the child. It really ranges depending on the parent. The first house I was in, I was getting a few, like it kind of increased and increased as I got older. So that was really nice of them. That was the best. It was like 100 something a month. The second foster home never gave me monthly allowance, honestly, and they should have, but they never did. I only got allowance for like the last month that I was there, and then I finally had to move myself out because I couldn't deal with it anymore. Not because of allowance, but because of other things. And the last foster home, I don't know, I honestly don't remember. And it was like about 200, I would say, because I'm like, you know, a lot older, and it's nice. And then they could just kind of pick and choose your rules from there. All foster parents are different. All rules are different. What was schooling like as a foster child? I didn't really understand this question. When I was reading it out to Marcus, he said more of like, how did I deal with school and foster care? I understood it more of like financial kind of schooling kind of thing. I'll answer both. Even though this video is getting way too long. The first one, I would say it was really hard dealing with school and foster care. It was really hard. It never really was about distance, because obviously they're never gonna guarantee that you're even gonna stay in a borough. Honestly, I was very lucky that I stayed in Brooklyn this entire time, and I was very lucky that I got to be with my sister the entire time. I was very blessed. I don't know, it wouldn't have been the same if I wasn't with her. She was honestly my rock at the end of the day. Between all of the foster homes, it wasn't my mother. She was making my life harder. It wasn't the foster parents. It was really my sister and all the people that came along, you know, during the journey. I'm thankful for them. I'm always going to be thankful for them. But my sister is the one who kind of made my life easier, who was there I could confide in. She actually got most of the heat for when it comes to like strictness. So it was a little hard. I was always a hard worker in school, honestly. I had pretty good grades. I got scholarship at the end of high school. I'm very proud of. And I always had the support system, and I always had the help if I needed it from both foster care and the foster parents, always. So that was nice. They would always ask whether I had any hard times in classes and stuff like that. And they would always offer tutoring, which was free. When it comes to financial, like for college, there is this program that I'm still a part of, but I'm not in school right now, so I actually don't get anything from them. But it's called ETV. It's like F2C, like go, or I don't know, foster care, something. If you Google ETV, most likely it'll come up. But it's basically like this program that calls you on a monthly basis and kind of checks up on you no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at. It's based on education. They help you out financially. They send you checks, and they're also there to work with the financial aid to kind of cover your tuition if it's not, you know, of course, that high. This other program, ADP, American Dream Program, That one is through the foster care agency that I was in, and they're really the ones that offered most of the services, and they're freaking amazing, and everybody there is so nice and so sweet and so understanding. I'm so thankful for that. And they give you a monthly allowance, and they check in on you, and they're always, you kind of have to come to the agency and, you know, talk to them, give them any paperwork and stuff like that, you know, kind of check in, kind of like a social worker, but like a case planner kind of person. But you also have a social worker on the side. I have watched The Fosters. I only watched, like, I don't know what season it's on now, but I didn't watch more than like 2 seasons, I think, or like 1 season, because simply for the fact that there was just too much going on. I couldn't keep up, and it was actually, it is a pretty cool show. I did like it, especially because I was in foster care while I watched it, but it does pretty much represents, from what I've seen, pretty well. I've never been in a group home, so I can't really vouch for group homes. I have been in, well, I've been in one once. The day that I got into foster care, I was actually in precinct while my mom was locked up in a cell. We got there like around 3 a.m. It was a couple blocks away from my house, literally walking distance. And I got there, I waited till about 8 p.m. An ACS worker came and picked me up from the precinct. I asked, can I go in the house? I need some stuff. I could just stay in the house. I'm independent enough. And they were like, nah, you can't stay in the house. You can't even go get your stuff. Do you have anybody we could bring you to? So I kind of went to my best friend's house, because obviously, like I said, you know, what the hell, why not? Like, I liked her parents and stuff, and I liked her, obviously, so who wouldn't want to live with their best friend? So from then on, I kind of picked up my stuff occasionally and stuff like that from the house. And then from there, from the precinct, we went and drove to a group home, and that's the only time that I've ever been in one. It was a little scary, it was a little intimidating, and honestly, if I probably didn't have anywhere else to go, if I didn't have anybody at all, if my best friend's parents weren't willing to take me, I would have ended up in that group home, and that would have really sucked. People there were nice, kind of, but it was kind of like it was in Manhattan, I believe, but it was like the ghetto. It was a ghetto group home. Like, everybody was screaming, everybody was yelling, everybody was fighting. The boys and the girls were like separated on floors. It was horrible. So I was very thankful that I didn't have to stay there, but honestly, if I would have stayed there, I mean, the people weren't that bad. They were pretty nice, but it wasn't my cup of tea, man. It really wasn't. Whoever survived their foster care experience in a group home, kudos to you. I have no idea what that feels like, and I don't want to, and oh my god, you guys are strong. The stereotype that would ring true of most foster kids, in my opinion, is that they really do need the support and help that you guys think they need. Like, although I was pretty independent and pretty sane, and a lot of people were really shocked about that, a lot of people really aren't. A lot of kids, they are just so torn between everything. A lot of them run away, a lot of them just act up and stuff like that, and that's really only because they don't have the support system they need. I met this girl once in the agency. She was like in homes, kind of bouncing from homes to homes since she was a baby, and I heard something like she'd been into over 20 something homes, and she was like 20 years old, and I was just like, wow, like, you know, how can you maintain a support system like that? And that's why I'm so happy that the agency that I was a part of really had so much support, is that how can you have steady support system if you're always bouncing from house to house as a baby? They don't even know you. They don't really care about you. And, you know, you don't have parents, or if you do have parents, they probably don't care about you either. It's really hard to really be sane, stay motivated, and really tell yourself it's all gonna be okay, because during those times, it feels like forever. It feels like forever. It just goes on forever. It feels like all the bad days just linger on. Sometimes you just can't wait to go to work or go to school in order to get away from it, and it's just like, you know, that really sucks. And then when you go into school just to get away from things, sometimes you don't really want to focus. You're just kind of relaxing in school at that point. And I'm not talking about myself really, but there have been days where I just couldn't take it anymore, you know? So I would say, like I said, the most true thing would be that if you have a foster child as a friend or whatever, I would say, you know, just be their support system. Everybody needs at least one support system, and I would say really my sister was the one steady one that was always there, because she always had my back and I always had hers. And if I couldn't take care of myself, I knew I could take care of her, at least as much as I tried, as much as I could. So really, yeah, that would be the one. Well, it was definitely challenging finding out what foster care is when I got into it from calling. Okay, so I'll tell you guys the story, I guess, even though I wanted to kind of tell it in my little draw my life video that I was going to draw for you guys later. But I got into foster care because my mom has been drinking a lot, and she's Russian, so honestly, Honestly, the Russian stereotype thing, not everybody freaking drinks, okay? Not everybody drinks and not everybody can handle their drinking. But a lot of them do. My mom was the one that did drink, and it wasn't because she was Russian, but because she was mostly depressed. But she drank and she couldn't stop, and she would drink for days, she wouldn't sleep. So it came around the point where that August, like I said, I wasn't in school. I kind of just hung around the house and stuff. I was always afraid of leaving her alone. There have been times where, you know, things would just get really, really hard. But at the moment where I called the cops is because my mom wouldn't let me sleep for like days after that. She would blast music. We lived in the kind of like the projects at that point, so nobody really called the cops because the music was so loud. But she would literally turn the music on full blast on the TV. She would connect it to the TV and she would stay up. And then for those few nights, she actually was threatening me, and she was threatening me to the max, like with a knife. And I had to sit against my door. I pushed my bed against my door and I sat on my bed, and but my mom was strong. She was very determined to kind of, you know, hurt me. So she was trying all day, all night. And during the daytime, she would kind of nap for like a few hours. It wasn't even a long time, long enough to actually have a full night of sleep. And she would still be pretty drunk, right? So she would just wake up, drink more, and just get angrier. She was a very angry drunk. So because of that, I had to call the cops eventually. It was 3 a.m. like I said, and she's just banging on the door with a knife in her hand, breaking down the door. It was a hard time at that point. I just said fuck it, and I called the cops. I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't want to be hurt. I wanted to live. I wanted to survive that. And I didn't know it would put me in foster care. I really didn't know what foster care was at all. And when they told me, I was just like, what do you mean I can't go back to my mom? So that, I would say, was a really big challenge, getting accustomed into the whole foster care thing, being in my first foster home, dealing with the monthly meetings, every 6-month meetings, the check-ins, all the questions. I couldn't leave the state without their permission. I couldn't do this without somebody's permission. I couldn't do that, this, that, this. Like, there was a lot of limitations on my childhood because they really had to keep a close eye on you. You couldn't go AWOL because then you're wanted. Like, it just sucked. Like, they have to know where you are at all times, and they have to know that you're safe at all times, even if you're trying to, you know, do something fun, you know? It has to be approved by courts and things like that. Hello? I was interrupted. My boyfriend called me. Now I gotta remember where the hell I was at. Second home, it was really challenging to kind of figure out how to go around the real strictness that was there. Like, the first home was strict. The second home was even stricter. Like, it was crazy. And, you know, I kind of had to... Another thing that I faced is I did not trust anybody. Like, nobody gains my trust at all. Ever. Like, not family, not friends. Nobody really has my trust. I'm really easily triggered to kind of cut you off, kind of thing. Like, it's a bad thing, it really is, but I'm not independent. I'm very dependent, but after I see that I can't be dependent on you anymore, I kind of just push you away. I'm just that kind of person. So foster care, that really didn't help with that, and I think foster care really caused it, because, you know, when you can't trust your own family, when you can't trust your own parent, then who can you really trust? When you can't trust the foster parents who don't really care about you, there's really no one left. There's just friends, and friends in high school, you guys already know, they're fake. Relationships in high school, not the most successful. So, and it's around the time, you know, where everything peaks. So it's hard, but yeah, I survived it. So kudos to me. And this is the last question. How did you end up in foster care? Are you in contact with your bio parents now that you're out of foster care? Do you have siblings? Were they in foster care with you as well? Were you treated well or mistreated? Okay, how did I end up? I already answered that. Called the cops on my own mother and kind of never left. After they gave us a trial of a month to go back to my mom's house, it failed. My mom actually very soberly called the cops on, not the cops, called my social worker at the time, and he had to find me a home that day, and that's how I got into my first foster home. Am I in contact with my biological parents now that I'm out of foster care? I always was in contact with my mom. She never made my life harder. She always made it easier. She always blamed me that I called the cops on her. She always always played the blame game, always said everything's good because of me, everything's bad because of you, like all the negativity that a child does not need. It's still kind of like that. I had my mom over for like 12 days at my house like a month ago, and it was a disaster, like a disaster. And I knew it was going to be a disaster, but I hope for the best because this is finally my own house. But it was a disaster, and I kind of, honestly, being the person that I am, I kind of cut her off, and she's like texting me and calling me, and I just don't want to hear it. It just, I just get so upset. I'm just like, I push away from people. We are still in contact, haven't been lately because of me, my own personal, I need my space. And after she came and ruined everything, I figured out that I really need my space. I finally need my own space away from the woman because I always forgave her for everything she did. Do you have siblings? Were they in foster care with you as well? I have 6 half siblings, but they live in Dubai, and I have 1 female individual who I consider my sister, which is the girl that I was talking about was my foster care sister. And that's it. I'm actually an only child when it comes to my mom and dad, so that's really it. You treated her well or mistreated? I was treated well to an extent. I was mistreated to an extent as well. That's all I'm gonna really say. Honestly, there's been some hard times where I just cried myself to sleep. And there's been some good times where, you know, there's happy. But when there's no, like, you know, kind of level to it, and it's just kind of happy, sad, and not because, like, I'm bipolar or anything, but because of the situations I was put in at those moments. It still affects me to this day, honestly. There's some days where I'm just, like, kind of out of it. And then there's some other, I mean, that's pretty normal, no? Like, everybody has bad days where they just kind of wake up, like, stressing about everything or in a bad mood. They just kind of need their own space. But me, I kind of need my space a lot more than most people. I just kind of sometimes watch movies to make myself feel better, listen to music. But honestly, sometimes I just don't need encounters. I don't like talking on the phone. I don't like really meeting people. Like, I don't know, I'm just very closed. Apart from my social anxiety that I've never been officially diagnosed with, that I could diagnose my damn self because I don't want to deal with a therapist. Hello? Who in social anxiety wants to deal with a therapist, with a stranger? Who? Nobody. Like, why does that make any sense, man? But anyway, apart from that, it's also, you know, my mistrust. I sit here making YouTube videos to take myself out of the shell. Honestly, you guys, I am hyper in real life, but I'm not always hyper, you know? That's basically all the questions that I have. You guys, this is like a 30-minute video. I'm really gonna try to cut it down. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked the video. Please comment down below with any questions, any concerns, anything you may have. If you are a foster child, and you are not ashamed to say it, comment down below. We can vibe. Like, literally, you guys, I met one other person on Facebook who was a foster child, and he was like amazed that I was a foster child. But yeah, I was. And I wasn't for all my life, but I was for a good portion of it, of me growing up, and it really takes a toll on somebody. So if you really have experienced anything, if you ever need the support or anything like that, I'm here, my inbox is here, my DMs are here, my Instagram's there, my Snap is there. We could be friends, you know? Have a connection, foster care, or maybe you know somebody like that and you need some help or advice or anything like that. I can't guarantee that I'm going to be very helpful with it, but I'll try. So yeah, I hope you liked this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe for more content, and don't forget to click the notification bell so that you get notified with every video that I post when I decide to post. I hope you have a great day. And remember, you're a goddess. Later!